The past is still running your body, not as conscious memory, as code. These old instructions are written into the tissue, into the way you breathe, into the way you move, into the way you contract before you even notice. Your shoulders rise, your jaw locks, your chest hardens, your hips hold back, and all of it happens before thought. Most people think they are choosing freely, but in many moments the body has already chosen first. It follows an old track, a familiar route, a path that feels like yours but began long before conscious choice. In this video, you are going to locate where that code is still active in your body and learn how to interrupt the repetition at the exact point where it begins. Because there is a micro-instant between stimulus and reaction where choice is still possible. And when the tissue learns another route, destiny stops feeling inevitable. Fascia is the network that wraps around muscles, organs, joints, and structures throughout the entire body. It supports, connects, transmits force. But it also plays a role in how the body records experience. Every repeated protection leaves a trace, a startle that was never completed, a contraction that became habit, a movement the body learned to avoid. Over time, this stops being a momentary response. It becomes organization. The body starts breathing that way, starts moving that way, starts returning to the same tension again and again. Not because it wants to, because it recognizes that path. That is why repetition does not show up only as thought. It shows up as shoulders that rise for no clear reason, as a chest that hardens before speech, as hips that lock, as a jaw that tightens the instant something touches a sensitive point. The nervous system always looks for the most familiar route when it detects threat, and that route is often written into the body. The central point is simple. You do not repeat only with the mind, you repeat with the tissue. This is how the past stays active, not only as memory, as posture, as breathing, as a ready-made reaction. You enter a conversation and your chest hardens before the first sentence. You receive a sharp look and your shoulders have already risen. You need to stand your ground and your jaw locks before the response comes. You try to move forward and your hips hold the movement back. The person thinks they failed in the moment, but very often the body was already running an old code. That is why certain conflicts always feel the same. Certain reactions return in the same shape. Certain boundaries disappear at the exact moment they are most needed. It is not always weakness. It is not always clarity. Very often, it is automatic loyalty to a pattern the body learned to protect. And that pattern stays active until you can recognize it while it is happening, not after, during. Now I want to take you straight into the body. Lie on your back on a firm surface. Bend your knees. Place your feet flat on the floor. Let your arms rest at your sides. Do not try to correct anything. Just let your spine meet the floor exactly as it is. Take a few breaths without controlling them. Now do the first test. Let both knees slowly drop to the right. What matters here is not range, it is the quality of the movement. Notice the point where something hesitates, stops, holds. It may be in the lower back, the middle back, the ribs, the chest. Slowly return to center. Now let the knees drop to the left. Compare the two sides. Does one side flow more? Does the other hold back? Does one side feel familiar and the other blocked? That difference shows you where the body is still holding active protection. Now do the second test. Reach both arms toward the ceiling, palms facing each other. Lift just one hand slightly higher, allowing the shoulder blade on that side to gently peel away from the floor. Notice how far the movement goes before the shoulder, chest, or ribs begin to resist. Come back. Repeat on the other side. Do not compare only distance, compare freedom. Now the third test. Bring your attention to the pelvis. Imagine your hips as a bowl. Tilt the bowl forward, allowing the lower back to arch slightly. Then tilt it backward, pressing the lower back into the floor. Go back and forth a few times. Notice which direction feels more natural and which direction feels less available. The direction that resists often reveals an important axis of the code. Now you know where the body repeats.
Now choose the test that revealed the greatest resistance. Return to that position, but this time, do not try to move past the restriction. Go only half range. Stay in a safe zone, and there, do something the body does not expect. Introduce micro variations, tiny circles, minimal rocking, subtle shifts in angle, movements so small they barely seem like movement. The goal is not to stretch, it is not to force, it is to break the predictability of the old track. As you do this, let the exhale last longer than the inhale. Let the air out slowly, as if it were leaving through a narrow opening. That change in timing signals to the nervous system that there is no urgency, and the tissue begins to receive new information. Continue for 2 minutes, always with small movements, always before the point of restriction. If you notice warmth, pulsing, a sigh, a fine tremor, or the urge to breathe more deeply, that is a sign the body is processing another route. What you are doing here is interrupting repetition at its most basic level. You are not fighting the pattern. You are showing the body that another path exists. Now, let's consolidate that change. Sit or stand. Place one open hand on your chest, just below the left clavicle. With firm but comfortable pressure, slide your hand diagonally across the sternum toward the ribs on the right side. Go slowly. If you find a denser point, pause there for a few seconds and breathe into the pressure. Repeat this glide 3 times. Now work along the side of the body. Slide from the armpit down to the top of the hip, slow enough to feel each layer respond. Then take 10 breaths. Inhale by expanding the ribs to the sides. As you exhale, let the air out slowly through the mouth, making the out-breath at least twice as long as the in-breath. This combination helps keep the body from returning immediately to the old pattern. Now create your anchor.
Bring your thumb to the base of the sternum at the point where the ribs meet in the center of the chest. Press gently as you take a long exhale. Keep that touch there for 3 breaths. This gesture will be your switch. In the next few days, whenever you notice your shoulders rising, your jaw locking, your chest hardening, or your hips returning to the old posture, use this touch and repeat inwardly, "I recognize the code and I choose differently." Not as a beautiful phrase, as an instruction, as a return, because when the body recognizes the pattern before it fully executes, repetition no longer rules alone.
What you are holding in your body now is already different from what you were carrying at the beginning of this video. The change may be small, but small does not mean irrelevant. Your breath may be deeper, your shoulders less elevated, your jaw less guarded, your torso less rigid, your hips less locked into the same shape. These signs matter. They show that the tissue has received new information, and when that happens, the past stops being the only force organizing the present. What you practiced here does not erase your history, but it changes the way your body responds to it. And that is already the beginning of another life. If this resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. And write this in the comments: "I recognize the code and I choose differently." Because freedom does not begin when the past disappears. It begins when the past stops deciding on its own.